and about Mike Flynn, whose name was not supposed to be released, showed up in the newspapers. And the question was, did they break any laws? And Gowdy says, well, that's not for me to determine. However, you might have to rely on anonymous sources for some of your stories sometimes. But if what those anonymous sources are giving you is top secret information that's protected by U.S. law, and you choose to be the one who releases it, aren't you as guilty as the person who leaked it to begin with? I think it's a good question. And it's not one that the media in Washington, D.C. is going to want to hear. But as we determined during the last presidential election, there are plenty of people at the top of the mainstream media pyramid, the network news pyramid, who are not friendly to Republicans. And they're not going to listen to information like that. They saw this as an opportunity to do damage to the fledgling Trump administration, and they seized upon it. Does that mean the government would ever prosecute these journalists? I don't know. Doesn't sound like they're even going to prosecute the leakers. If they did want to go after a journalist, that would be down the line somewhere. We don't even know if they're looking into that. So one more thing that came out of the Comey hearing yesterday in front of Congress. There's a Neil Gorsuch hearing going on today for the Supreme Court. Lots to do. There was a great Sean Spicer mix-up with some reporters earlier. We'll get into all of that. One thing we haven't talked about at all is this shooting on Metrolink. How safe do you feel on Metrolink these days, where supposedly you're not supposed to take your concealed carry weapon? And then this guy gets shot in the head by some people trying to mug two people inside the Metrolink train. We'll talk about that all coming up this hour. And I appreciate you being with us. We'll also have our Twitter poll, the results at the end of the hour. So please go vote on that at Tony Colombo 971, at Mark Cox 971. Tell us where you think this investigation should be focused when it comes to either the Russians or the leaks of intelligence information. We'll get to all that when Tony gets in here. Right now, I want to welcome my guest, Ballwin Police Chief Kevin Scott. Chief, how are you?
I'm doing well, Mark. How are you?
It's an honor to have you on the show again. I appreciate you giving me some time today.
You bet. Love being here.
You attended a very special event this morning, a groundbreaking for Officer Mike Flamion, who of course was injured in the line of duty. Tell me about this effort today.
Well, ever since Mike got shot, the one pledge that we've made is that we will always take care of him. He's our brother. He's our police officer here in Ballwin, and he's never going to stand alone. And through this process, some folks have come into our lives. Jim Schubert from Schubert Design and Furniture, Jim and Linda Schubert. Jim is on the executive board of Gary Sinise Foundation that's based in Los Angeles. And Jim has a strong tie to the Ballwin PD. We policed the city of Clarkson Valley for a number of years where he lives and have a strong relationship up there. And after Mike was shot, Jim was devastated and came in and basically said, hey, I want to help build this guy a smart home. I know what his prognosis is and, what can we do to help? And so that's how the process started. And it's been an evolution. And then being able to acquire property for Mike's home, basically within a stone's throw of police headquarters, was basically a gift from God. It was just the property sat there and sat there and sat there. And finally the foundation was able to acquire it. A number of people have pledged support in building this home, and the architects are done. The home has been designed. The construction company and all of the different technology facets are ready to go. And so today we did the groundbreaking for this what is going to be a remarkable smart home for this just extraordinary American hero.
I know that he's been going through rehab. I know he spent some time in Colorado at one of the top rehab facilities. But his prognosis in terms of being confined to a wheelchair has not changed. Is that correct?
You're correct, Mark. It has not.
So we're not just talking about a handicapped accessible home. When we talk about a smart home, give people an idea of what's going on with this structure.
Yeah, so it's designed to provide Mike with as much independence as possible. He's going to be able to control a lot of the functions in the home, from lighting to HVAC to seeing who's at his front door, all by using smart technology and like a smart pad or iPad type system. So our focus is to make him as independent as he possibly can be in his own home, and that's what the Sinise Foundation does for these injured veterans. And then now Mike is actually the first responder in the United States of America that they're building a home for. Wow.
I feel compelled to point out to people that if you want to show your support for somebody like the Gary Sinise Foundation, it's that simple. Their website is GarySiniseFoundation.org. People can go there, and clearly they're doing things like this for veterans. I think there might even be a picture of Mike Flamion on the front page of their website here. But they're constantly campaigning to raise money and help out people who are veterans and other people that are in need like this. Chief, you and I have talked about this a little bit, but what about the reaction from the community that you guys have seen since this incident happened?
Mark, I got to tell you, I cannot be prouder to represent Ballwin. It brings me to tears every time I think about it. When Mike was shot, this community was just basically devastated, but they rose to the occasion. And this really is happening, this home being built, because of all the contributions from this community and the broader region to the Sinise Foundation. And then just across the country, because Mike's story resonated across the country, because it affected the very fabric of American law enforcement, the support that's come in to the Sinise Foundation since then as well. And so, Ballwin is I cannot tell you what an unbelievable community it is, and just cannot be prouder of the people that live here. I have never seen anything like the support that Mike has gotten here anywhere else. And I've been a policeman a long time, but to see what transpired here in Ballwin after this, this police officer shed his blood in service of this community is it's beyond words.
Well, that's outstanding. But by the time this is over with, the home's built, what kind of an investment is that from these volunteers and people that have donated?
Well, it's definitely, the speculation is, somewhere up close to $1 million, and so we're still needing support. I mean, there's still things that we need to get done, and the Gary Sinise Foundation needs broader support to be able to continue to do this for, not only the military folks but the first responders. So anybody that's looking to contribute to this cause and is supportive of what Gary Sinise is doing, please contribute to their foundation. They do remarkable things, and they're not asking for credit. They just want to help these people. Yeah. Well, hopefully my listeners, if they've got the ability to give, can go check out the Sinise Foundation. I know there at one point was a GoFundMe effort for Officer Flamion. Is that still active? That is not. Okay. It is not active, and so we've passed the torch to the Sinise Foundation. Okay. And so we're really asking for anybody that wants to donate on behalf of Mike to do so directly to the Gary Sinise Foundation. Very good. Chief Scott, I always appreciate your time, and thanks for your efforts on this. Mark, I appreciate you having me on, and God bless you, and God bless all your listeners. A big shout-out to 97.1. Chief, thank you. Okay. All right, take care. Good. The local TV stations, I believe probably even the newspaper, covered this groundbreaking this morning where they broke ground for this house. But, I mean, it's going to be state of the art to allow Mike Flamion to live as comfortably and as possible. And I'm just reading here that this is the first time that the Gary Sinise Foundation has built a home like this for a first responder. Normally what they focused on is building homes for injured military veterans. And I'm sure, as he mentioned, the fact that Jim Schubert is on the board might have had some influence on them being able to get some funds for Officer Flamion. But good for them. If you can help, go do it, because I think that's a great cause. There's no doubt about that. When we come back here in the next segment, I want to talk about this violence on Metrolink. Quite frankly, I can probably count on one hand the times I've ever even ridden Metrolink. And maybe that's because unless it's a special event like the Fair St. Louis and you want to park out west somewhere and try to avoid some of the traffic problems downtown,
I've just never done it just to go to a ball game or something like that. But I would have to worry. I mean, I watched a story this morning where Metro really played down the risk of violence. But it sounds to me like they got a few more problems than they want to talk about. And the bigger problem being